My story starts on the day I realized my parents loved their perfect family image more than they ever loved me. I stood in a small church in suburban Ohio clutching my bouquet while my phone buzzed again and again with their messages saying they just couldn't make it. I watched my guests whisper because everyone knew my parents were obsessed with showcasing my older sister, like she was the star of some reality show. I stared at the empty seats in the front row where my mom and dad should have been, and my chest burned with a shame I never deserved. I held my husband's hand as he softly said it didn't matter, but the hollow space where my family should have been made me feel like I wasn't enough. I forced myself to smile for the photos, trying not to think about how my sister's wedding years earlier had been treated like the freaking Super Bowl. I walked out of the reception feeling like my entire life had just been ranked second place again. I went home that night and cried on our kitchen floor, wondering why I kept chasing people who clearly weren't chasing me back. I swore I wouldn't reach out first, even though every part of me wanted closure. I closed my eyes and wished something, anything, would finally expose the truth about our family. The crack showed up out of nowhere 3 months later, when my sister called crying like she'd been punched in the stomach. She said our parents were furious because she and her husband weren't perfect anymore, after losing their savings in some shady crypto trend that had blown up on TikTok. She whispered that our dad had screamed at her for ruining the family's image, calling her irresponsible and embarrassing. I sat in silence, realizing they only loved the version of us that made them look good on Facebook. I heard her say she didn't know who to talk to, because our parents had stopped answering her calls too. I told her to come over, even though part of me still felt bruised by everything they did at my wedding. She showed up on my porch looking like she hadn't slept in days and fell into my arms like a kid. We sat at my dining table under the yellow light, and for the first time in years she looked human. Not perfect, not untouchable. She apologized for taking their side and admitted she always knew something felt off about how we were raised. I watched my sister break down and realized the perfect child was finally free from the perfect lie. Everything truly collapsed when our mom landed in the ER after collapsing during Thanksgiving prep, because she'd been hiding stress and debt for months. My dad sat in the hallway looking lost, like the whole picture-perfect family thing had finally kicked him in the teeth. I walked past him and held my mom's cold hand, feeling a mix of sadness and justice. My sister sat beside me, both of us silent, finally on the same side. The doctor said she'd be okay, but needed rest, therapy, and honesty in her life. My dad quietly asked why we never told him we were hurting, and for the first time ever, I didn't cushion the truth. I told him he cared more about being admired than being a father, and the words hung in the air like smoke. He didn't deny it. He just looked down like someone who finally realized he'd wasted years chasing the wrong things. Weeks later, our family started therapy, and my sister and I decided to rebuild the parts of our lives that weren't fake. My wedding photos now remind me not of who wasn't there, but of who chose to stand with me when everything fell apart. If this story touched you, subscribe for more. I also worked very hard to show these stories to you, so help me by tapping that one subscribe button. So subscribe now for such videos.